Hey guys, welcome back to the Bro and Pro podcast, where we hope to help you reach your full potential, whether that be inside or outside the gym. And today we have our very own Slegion coach, Tung Hoang. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, I'm no stranger. I'm Jeremy's brother, just coming on as a bro now, but hopefully as a pro later.
Yeah, he actually wanted to wait until he turned pro, but I was like, no, we should probably do one just before, just into the lead up to kind of see how you're going through this whole prep. Obviously, you're a client as well, so he's my brother, he's my friend, he's our coach, and he also is competing. So he is competing this season. You're doing ICN?
Yeah. Actually wasn't expecting to come on the podcast anytime soon, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed me being here and let me spin some yarns for you.
Yes. And he is here to, remember, do bear with him because he is on it. He is literally 2 weeks out, so he's got comp brain. And Tung really does get comp brain. We'll go into that in further detail later on in the podcast. But yeah, so why don't you tell the viewers, the listeners, a little bit about yourself?
Where do I start? Been training for at least 10 to 13 years. Consistently only since 2018. Due to a life-changing event which got me into bodybuilding. Obviously had Jeremy and Nicole there. Jeremy for, I think we've known each other for about 12
18,
years.
13, yeah, 12 years. Yeah, no, 12 years. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
It met at my 21st.
Oh yeah, it would have been. Yeah. So I would have been 19, so 12 years.
Yeah. So funny story. At the time, we didn't know each other, but Jeremy was friends with one of my friends. So we met through mutual friends, and he was the only one willing to get drunk with me that night, and that's how we bonded.
And that's how we used to live our life. Yeah. Until health and fitness came into around. But the difference was we were always into the gym. We always trained and stuff like that. We did what was the evidence-based research at the time, if you could say, the gym bro stuff, the actual bro stuff, eat to get big, and I think you tried keto back then, and you told me about it. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna try to do this for cutting, because I realized that I started eating too much. I was eating a lot of KFC, a lot of takeaway, and I just thought, eat big, get big, train hard, That's literally what I did.
Yeah. What else? I think we trained for the wrong reasons. We trained to get shredded at music festivals.
That is true as well. I think my first cut was for a festival. No, I think the first cut was because I got told I was a bit too oversized. I need to start cutting or something. So I was like, I'll give it a go. So I did what anyone else did, was, drop carbs, and then pretty much, had drop carbs, did a ton of cardio, took all the fat burners I could find, like those capsules, like hydroxy cut and all of that, thinking that this is gonna help me get leaner. And that was probably my first time. And I got, I guess not lean, like abs lean, but I got leaner than what I was, because I was 115 down to 90 kilos. And then you yourself you were doing a lot of different stuff back then though.
Yeah, I did a bunch of random stuff, what I do. Did calisthenics, did a bit of gymnastics, weightlifted. So a bit of everything. So that's why it wasn't the best focus of my energy compared to now where I'm doing bodybuilding. But it just goes to show where you focus all your energy into one aspect of your life. The results will be a lot better, because that's where your focus is going to be, I think.
Yes. And I think you tried a lot of different things as well. And I think the problem is when you tried, there was no problem, because when you tried, you actually went all in. And I think you gave it all, as hard as you could. Like you did keto, you did calisthenics, you did, I think, breakdancing at one point.
Yeah.
So you did a whole bunch of different stuff, and you just committed to it, And I think now, obviously, you've learned so much from that. And I think a lot of times when people get into some sort of coaching, they just gotta sometimes just trust their coach and just go all in and give it a shot. Because there's no real right or wrong when doing this. There's ways of optimizing, making things more efficient, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to that extent. As long as you be consistent in what you do, you're gonna get some pretty good results.
Yeah. As long as you're consistent towards your goals at the end of the day, that's the main thing.
And so you did your first show about 4 years ago?
21. I started prepping in 2018. So
2018. Okay.
4 to 5 years now.
2018. So about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And this was during the time, I think, obviously, you went through a really rough patch during that time, but you found fitness during that time. You really went all in because you knew. What kind of made you decide, I'm just going to give this a shot?
All right, guys. So for those of you who don't know, I'll just share it. So I really loved fitness back then, spending time with Jeremy and Nicole and boys, but I got into a relationship, a very toxic one. And it kind of made me forget who I am. I lost myself in the process. Because we would always used to train like 5-6 times a week, see each other. But once I got into it, like you said, I'm all in. So I went all into that, but because I lost myself, I lost my path with fitness. I lost my way with fitness. I kind of gave up training to kind of really make the relationship work. Because I think at the time, me and my ex-partner didn't have a lot of common ground. It was just me trying to make sure we could try to spend time at work. Because you know me, right? I'm a workaholic. So I used to work 60 hours a week, 6 days. Even on my off days, I used to work based off the industry I was in the car industry. So it's a very commission-based and a very cutthroat industry. If you're not working, then you're not getting paid. And essentially, if you're working harder, you get paid more. So me being very driven by KPIs, I like to work a lot, and that kind of put a strain on my relationship as well and my fitness. So I had to draw that fine line. What do I give up? So I learned this thing called the Wheel of Life of one of my directors. So you can really put anything in it. So say there's like 5 aspects of your life. So one could be a relationship, one could be your work life, one could be fitness, one could be your studies, and the other thing could be your mental state. At the time, my mental state was good, work was good, fitness was good, but when I got into a relationship, I realized that the relationship wasn't doing too well, so I pulled back from my fitness levels, my mental health started declining without me realizing, because I was focusing so much effort onto a relationship where I started putting all my eggs into that one basket without realizing I started losing a lot of, so say like a 10 out of 10 scale, everything was like say 8 or 9, it started dropping so I could put everything into that relationship. It did improve for a bit, but then I was ignoring other aspects of my life, which in itself wasn't healthy and toxic because I wasn't really looking after myself at the end of the day. And what were we talking about again? How did I get into competing?
I guess you're talking about your past and how it got you into fitness and made that decision to be like, I need to get back. And you're talking about the Wheel of Life.
Yes, and then because, getting into fitness again made me realize how goal-driven and KPI-driven I was. And then at the time, I didn't really have much going on for me, just coming out of a rough patch. What do? You just work, but then you go home and then you just wallow, in a deep, dark hole. And then I think do we speak on like just at the stop store one day and you're like, oh, maybe I should try competing?
Yeah, I mean, I do, it's funny, so I remember this when I used to work at a sub store. You were working at, your car yard, working at a dealership. And so I remember saying, oh yeah, why don't you just give it a shot? I always found that pouring into your own cup, which is usually due to like training and nutrition, all that stuff, it's up to you. No one has control of that besides you. I could be your coach and tell you what to do, and we can be coaches and tell people what to do, but at the end of the day, it's up to the client to actually follow it. So that's why I threw it out, is why don't you try competing? Because I think health and fitness plays such a big role in people's lives. It's like your temple. It's something you have control of. We only, as coaches, we're here to give you accountability and give you guidance and give you the right tools. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to use those tools. It's all due to execution, right? And then, you decide to compete when we talked to the sub store. And in your first show, I think Nicole prepped Tung for this one. And how did you go?
So first show probably wasn't the best way to get into it. So once again, we back then believe eat big to get big.
100%.
So I was actually pretty lean before then. Obviously, I used to shred to go to Vegas and EDC for the wrong reasons. And then I thought, let's try men's physique because I really love that division. And then my way to get big was like I said, eat KFC, had charcoal chicken ribs.
I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think I was the one that gave you the advice to do it. I'm the worst person because back then I understand the concept of, okay, you need to kind of eat enough, and if you come to dieting, it's better that you're eating more food than just eating 1 meal a day.
Yeah.
The hardest clients are the ones who come to you and they're like, I eat 1 meal a day. And you're kind of like, or like, okay, 1 meal a day. Like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like one big meal a day. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be hard to start cutting because we need to first fix your metabolism. So I knew about that concept a while ago. I just didn't know the actual evidence or science-based stuff that was on it. So I couldn't say like, I knew the concept made sense in my head, but I just didn't know how to apply it properly.
Yeah.
And this was about like, what, like, yeah, 5 years ago, yeah. So it's just crazy how we look back now, it's like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we can't do that. You know, there's actually studies that say you shouldn't do that or put on unwanted body fat and eat takeaway. And then you could go into further depth about the quality of the actual food as well.
Yeah.
But that's something we'll probably talk about at a different time. But, you know, and so yeah, you decided to compete. You did your first show. How did you go?
Did pretty well. I placed first in first timers and then second in opens from memory.
Yeah.
And I've been second ever since. So
Mr. Number two.
That's what you can call me as. And then so that was for ICN, and then I did IMBA.
Wait, let me just stop you there. How much weight did you lose for the first show?
Yeah, so the first one I gained. So I was about 72 when I started with you guys.
Okay, yeah.
I gained 15, 16 kilos.
Okay, yeah.
And then when we looked at the pictures, we're like, fuck, like, you're fat.
Yeah, you're fat. You're gonna lose a ton of weight.
So we lost.
Let me just confirm that Nicole
23 or
did
24.
prep Tung for this one, so I won't take credit for it.
So 23, 24 kilos. It was rough, but I'm glad I did it because I was like, fuck, if I can survive that,
Yep.
I can survive any other prep afterwards. And then, you know, prep's gotten easier each time for me, you know, like we recomped each time better. I wasn't as heavy.
Yeah.
Because I remember first prep I was like, yeah, like Nicole was like worried I wasn't gonna make it. And then we're like, you know what, we just gonna do cardio. It's 8 hours of cardio a week, just training. I used to like work like, because I had to leave home at 6 in the car for the car yard hours. And then.
So that's 60-hour weeks, let me just confirm that.
Yeah, and then I would have to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, go do my cardio, do 1 hour of cardio, go home, make sure I eat breakfast. Because Wednesdays I would like work from like 7 till 9 at night. So that was like, that was written off. And then I would finish work around 6, 7 at night, go to the gym.
Yeah.
By the time I get home, it's like 8:30. And then eat my last meal in bed at 10 and then just repeat, vicious cycle. And then Sundays was I would do 2 hours of cardio. So just go once in the morning, go home, eat and come back. And that was, I think, 25, 26 weeks.
Oof. Yeah.
But it was only towards the end that we really ramped up the cardio for the last 8 weeks. But yeah, I think it was a good experience, made me learn a lot more about myself. Like you said, fitness improves your quality of life. Competing itself, probably not the healthiest out of all the other sports you can choose, but mentally it can sharpen you as a person and makes you learn a lot more about yourself. And I just started appreciating the more little things in life. Like I was, you know, like just a hermit for long periods of time, but the people that check up on you, like that meant the world to me. Like one of my good friends, David Tran, like he's been there from my like highs and lows, like, you know, everywhere, you know, from partying, but like he would always check up on me and prep, make sure I was okay. I mean, you know, you and Nicole were always there. So it just made me really understand and truly appreciate who mattered at the time. And then all the other boys as well would come in here and there and check up. But yeah, it is a hard and lonely sport. So there are times where I can understand why people would want to break down, especially on your first prep. You don't know what you're getting into, especially me. Like, then I didn't have an off season. I just went in, coming out from like, you know, training like a bro, and then stopped training for 2 years. Just went straight into it. But I've had no regrets ever since because, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. That's why I'm still doing it now. How much longer I can do it for, I'm not too sure. I'm not getting any younger, so try to get as much in as I can.
Fantastic Jackson was 50 years old, mate. You got heaps of time. I mean, a longer off season would do you like mentally good as well. Because I think you've been competing every season since then.
Yeah, so I did, what would we do? Yeah, I've never had a proper off season until this last one. Hey, like we did season B 2019. And then straight into season B 2020 and 21. So realistically, you know, you guys reversed me out for like 12, 16 weeks. And then I had maybe a few months of just maintaining gronk. So it was really hard to grow, but my body did recomposition. But then again, you know, I had nothing better to do. You know, like single, COVID hit, you know, I couldn't travel. couldn't go partying at the time. And then, you know, I think my mindset started shifting more from like, I really enjoy seeing myself progress in the gym.
Yeah.
As vain as it sounds, you know, like you enjoy looking at how you see yourself in the mirror better. Mentally, I was quite lucky. I didn't suffer with, I would say I do have body dysmorphia, but probably not as bad as a lot of other people I would say around me that I've seen compete. And food-wise, I'm all right with food. Like, you know, like if you say like, if you give me a cheat meal now, I'll happily eat it.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think I was quite lucky there. So otherwise, I think if I had suffered really bad with food anxiety, I don't think I would have done it for long, because both me and you, bro, we're fat kids at heart. We love food.
I've changed a lot though. But yeah, if you asked me a year ago or even longer than that, I definitely would be like, you know, and I guess like food was an outlet. I realized that food became an outlet or reward mechanism. You know, when you had a tough day or busy day, you kind of reward yourself with food. And even post-comp, we just blew out. Like I never knew about reverse diet recovery diet, like even 5 years ago, like, you know, and I think we've learned so much through the experiences, and obviously now with the new research and studies and stuff, you can argue that, you know, you might need longer than a year to actually be making some growth, because you might spend 6 months after the comp recovering.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when you actually possibly start building again, like 6 months after that. And so you only got 6 months, and that's 1 year. So you have to skip pretty much season A to season A and then do season B to actually make it an optimal off season. Because if not, like if you have to grow because that's one of the weaknesses, then you have no choice but to take a longer off season.
Yeah.
And then people think it's long, and I'm like, it's actually not that long, because like it depends on how strong your willpower is as well. Because a lot of people can't do this for a long period of time. Like, you know, they'll need a break, and I think that's where people struggle to find that balance. So you pretty much, you went into like, you're doing 60-hour weeks, you're working a ton load, plus still doing the 8 hours of cardio. So you've done all the hard yards. You've done the hard work to kind of take you to that next level. And then, so each show you competed, then when was the next show? So you did 2015, you competed in your first show, then you competed in the next year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Came second again.
Came second again.
So my feedback has always been conditioning, which is what we're trying to work on this time around. So I think it's been quite good. But I think at the time, you made a good point, because 60 hours, there was a lot of stress physiologically on my body. Mentally, I thought I was okay, but I think we had this discussion last time where, you know, everyone's mental aptitude for stress is different, right? Where someone's stress for 2 might be someone's 8. But because my mind was always racing, I didn't realize how tired my body was, because I never had a chance to switch off until I left the industry. Because every day I would just work constantly churning my brain and prep. So I just never had any downtime.
Yeah.
When I left the industry, it made me realize like, well, like recovery and rest is actually really important.
The three things that are important is like, you know, managing stress. And I realize that even now. As a coach, we're still learning and adapting, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I start to realize now, stress could actually be different for everyone. I don't know why it didn't occur to me like a year ago, but like, only recently I started noticing, I was like, actually stress is a huge factor. And this is something now we filter with clients. It's like, how's your life? Like, if someone wants to compete with me, I'm like, how's your stress level? What do you do for work? You know, and this is something even for normal clients, like, because I've got clients who are like doctors, surgeons, and I've got lawyer clients as well, and their workload are like crazy amount. You know, the amount of stress and focus they need to apply to actual work they need to be present. So it's like, it's very tough to try to make them feel brain dead, but then they have to go and, you know, work and focus, you know? So that's why their job is so hard. And they'll be like, oh yeah, the stress is about like a, you know, 6 out of 10, but realistically it's probably like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And think this is your first season this year that, yeah, you're not working 60-hour weeks. You pretty much had a pretty good off season, a long off season. And this would probably be the best you've looking so far.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot deny that. Looking at photos, I'm like, yeah, you look like you definitely have improved. Like, if you look compared to last year, I was like, yeah, you're definitely bigger now, bigger and leaner. So we're pretty much ready. So where you at now with your cutting weight? I think you're about
62 point something.
Yeah, 62 point. And what did you compete at last time?
Just over 63.
Okay, yeah. So we're already lighter than last time, and we're like about 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we came in pretty early. We planned it pretty well, because we started just before Christmas, just so we can get a head start, just in case you wanted to have free meals. And I've given Tung like 3 meals in the past couple of weeks, like just as in like a burger, ramen. Like he's had high carb days, but we finally found something that kind of works for you at the moment, like with the higher fats and stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
He enjoys all the higher fat foods, but I just realized that your body started responding better with the higher fats. And I was like, you know what, why don't we bring your fats up and see how we go? And this is where it's so important, right? Like, do you think it's important to kind of stick with the coach?
I think it's definitely debatable, but you know, if a coach is getting you results and they can, you know, empathize with, you know, your goals and how you're doing, that's the most important thing, and there's no reason why you should look for another coach. I understand some people do think the grass is greener on the other side, but that's like not just with fitness, with any industry, you know, like whether people look for a new job or new relationships, they think it's always going to be green on the other side when they leave, but they don't realize like the grass isn't green unless you water it. I honestly think, you know, if a coach is getting results and improving you, you know, each time, you know, there's no reason to leave your coach, especially if they've learned about your body.
Yeah.
If you've spent so much time working together. Obviously, unless, you know, you and your coach, the relationship starts to strain, then, and you can't work it out, then I think it's best to, you know, part ways before then. Similar with a coach as well, like I feel like as coaches, if we can't help a client anymore, you know, I think it's, you know, in our best duty and duty of care to refer them to someone else that could help them towards their goals, don't you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, it is our duty of care. If it's not within our scope and like have more problems beyond that we can control, like hormonals and bloods and all that, like, you know, reading all of that, then it's always best to send them off to someone else. Even when we screen clients, we ask them the same thing, like we can't help someone, I send them straight away to someone else. Like, cause I'm not gonna take one because I'll be like, I can't help you, like, you know? Well, I can't help you as best as you think I can. And so sometimes it's more than just diet and training. It could be so much other things that we're not within our control. And, you know, they could have conditions that we don't even know about, and it's only until they see a doctor, then you kind of like, okay, well, you need to see a proper nutritionist, you need to see someone that can actually give you the proper guidance and get you the best results. And because we care about getting our clients the best results, and sometimes it can be a case of, the client just wants to see something greener on the other side. As you said, like the grass might be greener on the other side for them. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just, they just need to follow the plan, or they need to work on themselves internally. And it's also another thing to note that, you know, coaches and clients, you got to find a coach that suits you. Yeah. And then also understands you, as you said, like empathy is so important that they need to, you know, be on the same wavelength. You know, sometimes some client might not just get you, you know, maybe someone's not as detail orientated and they expect, you know, you to do the work and that's it, you know, and that's just pretty much finding someone that just, you have to see it as like, yes, you want to keep that line of, okay, coach and client, but you got to kind of see someone as like, could I be friends with this guy? Because if you can't be friends with them, then like you can't ask them the right questions, you feel awkward around them, you just, and then it goes with the coach, because the coach might not ask the right questions as well. There's so many things that come into play. It's like you got to kind of have a relationship in some sense to be like, oh, this has to work. It's like, I'm sure everyone listening would have people out there that are kind of like, I don't really get along with that guy. So even if he sells you coaching, that this guy just starts to sell you coaching, you're probably not going to hire his service because you just don't get along with him. Like you just might meet someone first time and be like, you know what, I don't really get along with this guy as much as you know what I mean? Like you kind of know that I guarantee you there's that one guy. If I ask the listeners to just think about one guy, there will at least be one guy or one girl that they could think of that they're just like, you know, I don't really get along with them. Like I just don't like how they approach life, and they're just completely different. Maybe there might be, introverts and extroverts. There might be someone more extroverted that you kind of like, I don't really want to. And that's pretty much the same as coaching. You got to kind of find a coach for you. And I think that's why, as coaches, we just focus on who we can help. You know, we have to get along with them and they have to get along with us. Because if they don't, it's the results won't be as good. Because then you're not showing faith in your coach as well. Because you're kind of like, oh, you're doubting everything he says, you're doubting everything they do, and you're kind of like, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? It's right to ask questions, but then if you start doubting, that's when the relationship will probably end.
Yeah, that's when you'll probably have to like definitely look elsewhere for another coach that you can trust. Kind of like you say, you know, you got surgeons as clients, right? They got people's lives in their hands, so you know you got people's fitness lives in your hands. I think, yeah, as coaches, if you can stick with a coach long enough for them to learn your body, it's definitely going to pay off. A lot of people just don't have the patience for it. I would say it's we live in a gratification society now. Everything's now Uber Eats. What else?
Like turn on the TV. Like in
Netflix
general, it's the small little things that people don't realize. It's like if we were cavemen, we couldn't go to a fridge. There's no fridge access. You can't just get food and microwave it and eat 6 meals a day. Like, come on, seriously? Like, there wasn't these sort of like. It's not even just the Instagram and social media. I start to realize now in everyday life, heat up food. You don't have to light a fire. Just put it in a microwave. Boom, done. You can eat food at your own leisure. Everything has made us more lazier. And then yes, it's innovation, it's technology improvements and stuff like that. But realistically, it's the reason that we have slowly, like obviously social media makes it even more. The instance that it's more like you're craving that dopamine hit. Especially when you are looking at Instagram and stuff like that. That's why I try to stay on Instagram as much as I can. I only reply when I need to, but I try to set times throughout the day where I will do that. And I think that's a good way for like people to just kind of manage the dopamine levels. I mean, I'm not an expert at it. I only just started learning about like more about dopamine and all this stuff. So I guess like, don't take my advice, but like if you want to, you can. It's just to manage that level of hit, because a lot of times when people wake up, they go straight to their phone, look at Instagram, looking for that like on their recent posts or their follows or stuff like that. And it makes you feel good. As messed up as it sounds, when you get a follow, oh cool, I got a follow. Oh cool, I got some likes. I got heaps of likes on my story. You just almost feel like, oh yeah, you're getting that satisfaction so quickly that people are not willing to wait and be patient, as you said, and they want the results like that. I want to do 7 hours of cardio a week. I want to eat like 1 meal a day. And I'm just like, well, you're not going to get the longevity that you want. But that being said though, there is a sort of motivation that people get from getting results quickly. Like I do believe that there is sometimes those people who just like want to just be hard out, smash it out, get the results, but then I'll pound into their brain that they need to reverse that. They need to keep this going. They got to keep the longevity. We're like broken records and the stuff we say. But like that's what we say so often that people don't notice that.
Yeah, as long as they understand, it's not sustainable, doing 8 hours of cardio a week in the long term, eating only a few meals here and there is not sustainable. As long as they understand the concept of what we're trying to do, it is a lifestyle. If they can like slowly ease out of it and, you don't have to do 10,000 steps a day, but if you get some form of cardio in, just for cardiovascular health, or if you can go for a walk outside, you don't have to be consistent in 10,000 every day if you got a hard job, say you got to sit on the desk, but some form of movement, try to get that in slowly over time, and that will definitely pay off in the long run. But yeah, I think we're going off topic, like back to...
Never off topic. This is all interesting. There's never off topic.
So should someone stay with a coach? I believe they should, but there are some people who do like to try new things, which is understandable. Like, if you're just upfront with the coach, say, hey, I only want to do this 12 weeks, I want to try something else afterwards, no harm done. I think that's perfectly fine as well. At the end of the day, we're free to do what we want to do. We're all adults now, so...
Exactly.
So as long as you can have just an honest conversation, like, I don't think it's for me, I'm going to move on and that's fine. So health and fitness to me at the end of the day isn't just aesthetics. So it's more than just how you look in the mirror. It should be how you, wake up in the morning. How do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel like shit?
Yeah.
If you feel like shit, maybe your fitness level isn't up to where it should be. Cardiovascular to me is very important as well. I always tell that to all my clients. I'm not making you do cardio to lose weight. I'm making it so, your heart's stronger. And, if you have better cardiovascular, your quality of life increases, which increases longevity of your life at the end of the day. So it doesn't have to be, about getting into the gym and, lifting heavy weights. Could be about, go play sports, go do cycling or something, go to the beach, start swimming, just stay active at the end of the day. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And I think, being, that is health. That is health and fitness, right? Like, I think that's so important that you've got to understand that it's not just about aesthetics, as you said, and it's more about living a healthier, more confident, self-confident lifestyle. That it's accomplishment, like to let's say, like, if your goal is to get to 12% body fat, you achieve it. It's a great goal, but if you start eating healthier, feeling better, being able to find balance, you educate yourself in the knowledge that we teach you in regards to like, you know, nutrition, training, how to go out and eat, how to go on holiday and still not gain weight, you know, all these little tips are the tips that we are here to help clients with to really get the best results so they have longevity in what they're doing. Because all it does come down is knowledge. Like, right? Like if they understood the concepts of cut and build and reverse diet, I know there's a lot of different terms, but that's something we try to give people the tools they need to understand this so they become more self-aware. Because I think a lot of times people are just not self-aware. They just don't understand how to go out and eat. They just don't know how to be smart. They don't know the hunger cues. They don't know when their stress levels are too high. They don't know when their sleep is bad. They don't know when they're not eating enough protein or eating enough food. You know, all of these things are like a learning process that it takes maybe a whole year and a half or 2 years to really understand it completely, that you're like, I can do this myself. And that's what we want for clients. We want clients to leave with all the knowledge they can possibly get, but they first got to ask those questions.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, I feel like guys as clients, if you don't ask, we can't actually help you. A lot of times, I feel sometimes clients might be a bit scared to ask, so as coaches, we really have to like probe. Like I will like spam some of my clients just to make sure they're okay. And then eventually they'll tell me. And then like as soon as you can get past that barrier of not being able to ask, I think it's a lot smooth sailing from there, because communication is like really important for that client-coach relationship to work.
100%. And that's where as coaches we have to ask the right questions, as you do. You know, these are all the little stuff that we do that it's just not as simple as just sending you a nutrition plan, sending you a training program, that's it. And then see you later, man, just follow the plan and you'll get there, right? And sometimes some clients might be like that. Some clients might just execute really well, but the ones who actually ask questions are gonna learn so much from it. You know, they're gonna be able to take the skills away and still get results when they're done. I still get clients now messaging me when they finish with me and they're just like, I'm still getting results. And I'm like, that's the best thing to hear. Because then I'm like, okay, I've done my job. I've given them the tools they need to keep succeeding in what they're doing, and they're living the lifestyle now. They've changed their lives forever. You know, and I think that's the best feeling. And, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, as coaches, we learn and we have improved. Like, I mean, if you asked me 5 years ago, I wasn't an online coach 5 years ago. I actually only started, now that you think about it, maybe 3 years ago, I probably started online coaching. But I've been in the fitness industry for a long time, competed in multiple shows, and like also have kept up with my studies and still studying new courses, stuff to really make sure that I know the current and research-based evidence and that stuff. But yeah, so back on topic anyways, so you are competing this year. How did you manage, you're doing 60-hour weeks, how did you, that willpower to get up really early and get things done, how did you do it?
All right, so so stupid. First thing was, getting out of that toxic. You know what, I'm gonna get that revenge body for the wrong reasons.
But you know, that's motivation. No.
Yeah.
To correct you, I definitely believe that motivation is an important part in doing this.
Yeah.
Like for someone to make the change, they would have seen something or they've gotten to a point that they're sick of being how they feel. Those are the people that will come into it. Like I've gotten guys who are just like, oh, I just want to like learn more. Like those guys will get good results if they just want to learn more. That's another thing. Motivation, I want to learn more. There's too much information on that, info overload. There's revenge body. There's wedding preps. There's so many things out there that you need that motivation. Because like to want to make a change. Because if not, what's going to prompt you to be like, oh, I want to change my life. Like I'm happy eating what I want. So I think that's fair to say that you wanted that revenge bod and that was the first goal.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next point. So people do get into health and fitness for one or two reasons. Yeah. First is because they actually really love it. So they'll do it. And the other one is, like you said, a life-changing event. Like, oh, you know, you're like really sick or you're really overweight. You know, you might get heart disease if this keeps going. You know, you got diabetes, so you really have to get into health and fitness. So I always try to encourage people, you know, you should get into it for the reason of loving it. You shouldn't do health and fitness just to punish your body because it's not in the best state. But yeah, mentally, that's how I got into it. Revenge body. I mean, like, because I used to look at myself like, I used to look good, and I let myself go. I mean, you just feel shit about yourself at the end of the day. But that was at the time, that's what I thought it was for health and fitness aesthetically for me. But the more I did it, I learned, like you said, I kept asking questions, I learned about it. I found joy in training again. Yeah. And then just seeing myself progress and, you know, having those little goals, like I mentioned, because I'm KPI oriented, I like ticking off check boxes. And that drives me, having that purpose at the end of the day. And yeah, mentally, that was what really kept me going. But the more I did it, and it's just routine. Like, I'm a creature of habit at the end of the day. Because I did 60 hours for so long, I just did training and the cardio. Everything day in, day out just became a blur to me. That I kind of autopiloted through most of it. And at the time, because I came out of it, I was very closed off from a lot of people. So I think mentally, I was struggling. But I learned how to compartmentalize it better. I learned how to just talk to the right people like yourself and David at the time instead of bottling things up, because you've seen me bottle things up.
Yeah, I know. Tung is a very stubborn person as well. Let me just mention that. Trust me when I say this, but he's stubborn, but he does what he needs to do. Like that, it's more like you're the type of person that I would have to challenge to be like, hey, you can't do it, and you'd be like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. which is a good trait. Everyone has different traits, and I think it's a great trait to have. I think it's about it's what keeps you motivated. It is what drives you to that next level. And I think this time around, your prep has been the best it's ever been. You're looking the best you've ever looked. And it comes down to just like not just going through the motions anymore, because you now also are able to help other people with this. And then obviously you join our company and now you're one of our coaches. So now you're helping other people achieve this goal. And how does that make you feel?
At the end of the day, the job satisfaction is actually really good. So coming from the car yard, so it goes back
as a managerial role as well.
Yeah, so it goes back
Supervisor.
it goes back to this wheel of life I was saying. Financial, so on the wheel of life, my financial scale was really good. Fitness was kind of meh at the time.
You just went through emotions.
Yeah. Time freedom was absolute zero. Had no time to spend with friends. I used to always have to like miss out on going to parties on Fridays and Saturdays, even just normal catch-ups.
Yeah.
I was just too tired.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I just didn't want to see anyone, because I was seeing people, like 10, 12 hours a day dealing with customers, dealing with a lot of conflict resolutions and a lot of these things. It just mentally drains you. Like you said, the fatigue bucket and pouring out of your cup and just having to look after the team. Whereas now, and I wasn't getting a lot of job satisfaction towards the end. I was like, I was making all this money, but then, I felt people weren't thankful, because there's a very bad stigma in the car industry where they're to rip people off.
Yeah. Don't say that.
Yeah.
They'll come after you.
That's a stigma.
Yeah.
That's a stigma with any sales role you go into, I feel like, and it's a mental stress for a lot of people. And I've seen it myself, because a lot of very successful people, high position people, are either single or just like broken relationships up there. That kind of made me realize as well. And what's the point of making all this money when I had no time and I couldn't spend it? And then that's when COVID really made that change, and we had the talk. Like,
we had a call.
Try coaching.
When you try coaching, that was when before I started to expand, and I was like, oh, you know what? And then you were my brothers and friends, so I was kind of like, well, he's competed on multiple shows. I think he'll be good. So that's pretty much how we kind of got on the topic of like, oh, when you just start coaching kind of thing. Yeah.
And then like now, like I look at the wheel of life now, like financially, I'm still in like a position where I'm still grateful to have a roof over my head. Yeah, I'm not making like huge amount of money where I could like, go out before and spend, but like, I'm content with that now, because the more I started to dial back on like, I don't actually need as much money as I used to, because I wasn't spending it. I have this time freedom back. Obviously not now in prep, because I'm prepping, but once I'm off prep, I have this freedom of time. I can work my own hours.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck at the dealership from like 7 to 7 most days. I can, take a break in the middle of the day, go home, spend time with my dog. And the job satisfaction it's overwhelmingly a lot better for me now. Like, for people to genuinely thank you for changing their lives of their body, that really puts a smile on my heart.
Yeah, it does. And it gives you that emotion again, that saying, the will of life, and like, money can't buy time.
Yeah.
No matter how much money, even if you're a billionaire, there's just no way it's gonna buy time unless they create some like immortal thing. But like, anyways, but like honestly, the money can't buy back time. And I think, if you make, like, as you said, if you make enough to put a roof over your head, that is all that's important. And your job satisfaction of people coming to you and telling you like, thank you for changing my life. You've stopped my gym anxiety. You've stopped the anxiety about my own body, the self-confidence I need. Those are the sort of things, that's why we do what we do, right? Like, it's not just about making money, it's about changing people's lives. that you're going to be remembered for something. That's, like, as, if we can talk about it as depressing as it could sound, it's more about like, you'll be remembered for it. Like the amount of impact you have on people's lives. Like, it's like, how people donate money. The exact same thing. Like, that feeling you get, you can't get from anything else. Like, you rather spend your money on other people, like your family or your close friends, instead of yourself.
Yeah.
And that feels better.
Yeah.
For as weird as it sounds, anyone that's, obviously, bought something for their parents or their friends, and you just that it's not a reward, but like that feeling you get, it's like you don't really get that from buying stuff from yourself. You kind of like, oh, cool, I have it now.
It's
cool.
one of the love languages, so acts of service and gift giving, I think.
Yeah, I don't know about the love language. I don't know if the listeners listen to that, but I'm sure they do. But I don't know personally, but Tung knows he's a man of love now. But yeah, so
Working
I guess.
on it.
And I guess like obviously now you're pretty much working with a lot of clients and stuff like that. You have your first client competing over East as well. So that must be exciting. Thinking from where you started and now you're helping other people like apply the methods you've learned.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think I would get clients over East. People from over East reach out to me. So that was, I was very shocked when I told you about it because like, I have clients here, but then like, it is very nerve wracking. Obviously, I've never like coached someone remotely before. And then he starts peak week next week. So his show is in on the 15th. So
that's exciting. Nerve wracking because you're competing yourself as well.
Yeah.
But the great thing about online is that it does make a massive difference. And I think I guess that's really important for like the future of like, what you want to do. You want to help people remotely because, giving people like more access to your knowledge, that's important. Because like, as a PT, when I was doing PT, it was more about just face-to-face talking. It was face-to-face, that was it. When they come for the session, that was the only time I talked to them. How's your diet? How's your nutrition? But they could just say whatever they want to say because I had no control over it. Whereas with online coaching, they have to send us photos, measurements, weight. They can't really hide from, I had a good week, but then they really had a bad week. You can't really hide from that fact because we can look at it through photos. And that's where the positives of online coaching comes into play.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, you're just going to lie to yourself. You're lying to yourself if you had a shit week and you told a coach I had a good week. Like, nothing's going to come out of it. Just say, hey, I fucked up. Like, can we like damage control or go from here? Just like me and you, if I have a shit week, I'll just tell you.
Yeah, you tell me straight out. It's like if you had a shit week, and that's when we make the right adjustments. I think from show to show we've improved, and I've learned more about your body every time you've prepped. And I think it's important, like the prep is so different because like yours is definitely different to a lot of other clients that generally I'll be like, you have to stop doing barbell work because you have to do more dumbbells and stuff like that because fatigue and all that stuff. You have a higher fat carbs on higher carb/fat days, compared to other people as well, because you generally want to keep fats low. There are so many things that we've done differently this time around that I think people don't even know, because like I've worked with you more now that I know how your body responds, and then we try different things. They're like, why don't we try this instead, and then see how it goes. There's reasons for everything, and I think there's no textbook or this is what we do for everyone. It really is individualized, but only because I worked with you for so long, like at least 2 or 3 shows now. Would be your 3rd show.
Yeah. Third show. So.
3rd show. You've done 4 shows, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. 5.
Yeah. So I've helped you at least 3 of those because Nicole was prepping you for the first 2, and honestly, you just kept improving. Like I wouldn't say that you got better through my training methods. I would just say that you just kept training. Obviously, if you train for 5 years, you're gonna get better. Like no matter how you do it. So when people try to look for this shortcut of what's the secret? Do I need to do more? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? And I'm like, just keep training. Like that's all you got to do. Like there's really no rocket science to it. People think there's some new way of tearing muscle apart, and I'm like, it's just about creating tension. Create tension in your muscles, activate the muscles good, and you're pretty much gonna build muscle no matter what exercise you do. And it's only the people who know how to execute things well are the ones that will get really good results, because you need to execute, you need to put effort in. Very important, you need these things. And I guess like, with your, do you think competing helps you gain more credibility in the fitness industry?
I don't think so. At the end of the day, I feel like if you know your shit and you can get people results, like no one's gonna give a shit if you compete or not, right? You can look like just your average Joe, look like you don't lift, but if you have all this knowledge, you know how to empathize with your clients, you know how to look after and talk to them, keep them motivated, consistent towards their goals, and you get them results, like people's not going to ask questions.
100%. And they're going to vibe with the right person.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so true that you're saying that as well, because like if someone did compete, it could probably turn off someone and be like, oh, he's too serious. I don't want to go with him because he competes. You know, that could be a turn off for some potential clients, because they're just like, you know, I don't want to work with someone like that. And that's why it brings me back to how I was saying, like every client and coach has to have a good relationship in regards to you have to vibe. Like you kind of have to be on the same wavelength, because if you aren't, the relationship is not going to work, because there's going to be doubt. They might not like that you compete for whatever reason, and there are people like that. So that's why it's true. I don't think it does give you credibility. If anything, it does for maybe the competitors, because they'll be like, oh, you put yourself through it, so now I know that you know what it feels like. Because there's that sort of alliance that you want to know that if you're a competitor, that your coach has competed at some point.
Yeah, so that would be more on the sympathetic side of things, where you're like, you've been through what they've been through, like you said. So so then they'll vibe with that. So that's just like finding that common ground for someone to connect with you for that relationship, I believe. But yeah, whether you compete or not, I don't think it's going to matter, as long as you can get people results.
That's the most important part. Care with enough and give your all when you work with clients. That's like literally my best advice. Like, work with a range of clients to help them as best you can. Even if you have to research things, learn new things, just do your ultimate best. And I think that is the most important thing, because then that's how you also build retention. This is how if clients leave for a period of time, because, you know, it could be financial, they come back. You know, I get a lot of clients right now that just come back. Like they just may take some time off because they're going through a rough patch or a busy period, but then they hit me up straight away once the busy period's done, or like they're good to go again. Because then they're just like, because you've already provided enough knowledge in the beginning that they're like, oh, I'm going to come back for sure. Like, I just need some time off to kind of focus and do my own thing, because sometimes it does add extra stress to your bucket, especially with, like, you know, doing this, because you want to not let your coach down and you don't want to let yourself down. So that fear of that puts extra stress. And it's funny, because there's this study, I don't know, about drinking wine, and then someone would, like, if someone drank wine every single night, like one glass of wine, and it helped them calm down and relax, it was found that, you know, obviously they say you shouldn't drink at all. Like, you know, you should drink maybe once a month or something like that. But then it was found that this person started putting on weight because the stress got higher, because they didn't have that relief.
Yeah.
It's a funny study. I heard it recently, and I was kind of like, oh, that's very interesting. So like, you would just keep the wine in there because it helps them relieve their stress. So they actually lose weight because of that. So there's just so many things that this world is all about, like, speaking in the majority, like, of 90%. Like, okay, 90% of people shouldn't drink because it's not going to get you results. But 10% of people might actually should drink because it helps them calm them down. You know, and that's where this whole thing is, like, we talk, and people don't understand that it's the majority that people talk in, and less so the minority. And I think these are some of the variables that, you know, as coaches, we have to pick up on. Like, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. We have to figure out exactly. And it's all a problem solving game for us to kind of figure out, but we need that communication. If the client doesn't give us and tell us how their week is gone, explain in detail, then we don't know how to help them. They'll be like, oh, I had a good week, cool. Okay, how can we make it better? What can we do differently? How's your digestion? How's your sleep? How's your stress? How's your life? You know? And we're not gonna say we're life coaches, but at some extent, it does feel like we have to help a little bit with life, because managing stress is an important part. But once again, don't take my word for it, go see a specialist. We're just only here to help within our knowledge and in our space as well. Sweet, man. So we got season A, we're going to nationals. So you're gonna hope to win that pro card this time?
Yep, fingers crossed. Doing my best. But at the end of the day, you know, like, you can't control who shows up. So you just got to do the work. That's why we started a bit earlier. Well, you wanted me to start a bit earlier, which I was...
Good timing. It's good. We chilled into the show, though.
Yeah, so we're chilling into the show.
We stopped cardio how many weeks out?
Like 10.
Yeah, so it's been 10 weeks that he's done no cardio.
It's very chilled as well. I think I only did 3.
And he hit it a low. He's already lighter, like literally since last week, 4 weeks out. He's lighter than when he did his peak week, or show day last time.
Yeah, so lighter than show day. I think the most cardio I did was like 5 sessions of 20 minutes, steady state. Yeah. Very chilled.
I don't think it's magic as well. Honestly, I think it's just because you have less stress now. Like
Yeah.
as I said, like, you know, because you aren't working 60-hour weeks anymore, that was just a huge thing that you could probably say your stress is about the same now, or like what you would have rated it. Because like, but what you perceived back then, you start to realize now, oh, actually, wait, no, it's like way less now.
Well, for me, I'll always have some form of stress, like I
Yeah.
overthink, but I think the stress now is like, I don't have to stress about, I only stress about my clients and myself now. I don't have to stress about like work when I was in CAD. Like something like a report that should only take me 10 minutes, I used to spend 45 minutes looking when I was so depleted, because like you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I used to just stress out like, did I get the decimal or little zero right? That used to stress me the fuck out. So stuff like that like used to like really head nick me, but now like it's not as bad, because like now I just go and I'm working with clients, so I'm only stressing about clients if they don't respond to me, if I can't communicate with them, and just like house chores and stuff, just your everyday stress.
Yeah, so
but it's not as bad
too
as
bad.
back
It's
then.
relaxation, and like on your physical side, you're not under the pump. It's not a stressful environment in your body. Like there's little stress that's probably not that bad. You know,
I think obviously having about a year off for the off season helped. Each time coming into prep, my starting point was better as well. So I wasn't like, you know, like 25 kilos overweight. I was only like 12 kilos above stage weight this time, and we cruised into it. Food's been very high. Like, you know, whole week of like carb and fat loading, 3 meals. But yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I definitely like was a bit more lenient because your physique just looked better each time. So I was just like, oh, let's just give you a free meal. Like it's just like so chilled, right? It's not as pedantic as people think it is. Like when they start to realize, but then like, you know, at the first time you still got to commit all in. But as you get more experience, you can be a little bit more relaxed. Like, you know, you're still pushing hard, but like your body responds a lot better because you know what's happening.
I'm a lot more relaxed this time around in prep for sure. Just having that starting point, and if you have a good set point with your off season, it makes a huge difference. Just don't do what I did, like coming into my first show, haven't trained for 2 years, gained a bunch of weight.
Do a good off season, please.
Fucked myself over with cardio.
And so I guess like, you know, we've been, I think it's been an hour now. So what is one piece of advice you can give listeners to help them reach their full potential?
I'd say like for me, if I was to give advice, let's say I'll give advice back to my old self. Don't be afraid to give it your all at the end of the day. Like, and especially if it's something you really want to do and really want to try, if it's been sitting in your head for like 3 months, just do it. Otherwise, like you're going to be pondering like, oh, I should have done this. And then you should never live in hindsight. And if you live in hindsight, you're always going to be living in the past, and you can never look forward to what you want to do.
Love it. That was really good. And I just want to add one little thing. Take your time. Like results take time. Whatever you do and whatever you want to achieve, it takes time, right? It's not going to happen overnight. You know, as we were discussing in this podcast, it's like, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. Take your time and just keep pushing.
Yeah, I think being patient is good, but you have to like go out and get it. And like, you can't just wait.
Work at it, but don't believe the results are going to come straight away. That's where people get it wrong. They're like, oh, it's going to just happen for me. And some people might get lucky, but you know, most of us it doesn't.
You just gotta do it. Just dive in head first, you know, bulk hard like I did, and then do the hard yards, and it'll pay off.
That's it. Easy, man. Well, thank you for coming on this podcast. So guys, if you found any value from this podcast, please share it to your friends and make sure to tag us. If you do ever have any questions you want to ask us, feel free to shoot us a message. Obviously, Tung is Tung_Slegion, so go check him out. If you do want to get coached by him as well, he definitely has some spots open for you. Jump on a call with him. I'm sure he'll be free to do a free consult for you in person as well if you wanted. So good luck to you, and hopefully we'll probably do another one soon when you hopefully get that pro card, you know?
I'll be back as a pro.
That's it. That's what I hear. It's the Broner Bro today, but it'll be the Broner Pro soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.